Hello, Patti Haynes here, host of honeybeemyteacher.com and sponsored by Smokin Js Smoke Shops. Just want to say hello out there, and I am not in the studio today because I am out and about interviewing about honeybees and kids. We've been lucky to have an interview with a 5-year-old between his mother and himself. We're interviewing a 10-year-old, and I'm also interviewing a professional beekeeper that started out doing beekeeping as a pretty young kid. These are exciting little stories, and I felt like this would be a great way for us to have a diverse picture of beekeepers' opportunity to just get the word out. We can talk to anybody, and this will be the recordings of people that we've been able to reach out to that have a passion for bees, and only one of them out of the 3 interviews we have actually owns bees. So stay tuned, and we will see you on the flip side. Enjoy the show.
Honeybee, oh honeybee, won't you be my teacher?
Hello and welcome again for our next interview, and this time we're interviewing a young woman named Kennedy. Hi Kennedy, how are you?
I'm good.
How old are you, Kennedy?
I am 10 years old.
Kennedy, have you been around honeybees very many times in your life?
Yes, I have.
Where do you hang around with the honeybees?
At my grandma's house.
Are you afraid of honeybees?
Not that much.
Have you been afraid of them before?
When I was 9.
Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Kinda.
So, since you've been able to hang around with the honeybees, I guess my question for you is, do you think honeybees are safe for little kids to be around?
Yes.
Why do you think they're safe?
Because they won't sting you unless you harm them.
Right. Honeybees like to be protective of their own things. What is it that the honeybee protects the most?
They protect their honey and their queen.
She's very important to them, isn't she?
Yes.
So when the queen is being protected by the honeybees and the honeybees are flying around, do you think it's okay to get too close to the hive during that time?
I think you should stay a nice distance so you don't bother them and stress them out, but I think you can still watch them.
Absolutely, you can do that. Also, too, what would you say to do if you accidentally walked into the woods and saw a wild beehive hanging from a branch? What would be the safest thing to do then?
Walk around it if you don't like them, but if you do like them, then that's wonderful.
Is it okay to spray honeybees with any chemicals?
No.
Is it okay to spray their food or their flowers with chemicals?
No.
What can you do, since you're just a kid, in your mom's yard to help the honeybees do better?
Probably have flowers in the yard.
Do you have a garden now at your house?
Yes.
Did your garden have lots of flowers on it?
No, but we still have flowers naturally growing around our house.
That's very important, isn't it?
Yes.
If you had to give a child some advice and you wanted them to help the honeybees live longer too, how would you tell them how important it is to have flowers and to be respectful of the honeybee?
I would tell them that if they ran into a thing of bees, I would tell them to stay calm and not try to hurt them, because if you don't hurt them, as I already said, if you don't hurt them, they don't hurt you.
What else can you tell them as far as giving them advice? And if they like honeybees but cannot have them, what can they grow in their gardens to help the honeybees?
Flowers.
Flowers are very important, aren't they?
Yes.
Did you know that sunflowers are a very important bee food as well as dandelions. Now, a lot of people think dandelions are weeds, but we know that they feed the bees in the beginning of the season, correct?
Yes.
And you like to see pictures of the bees when they've been on the dandelions and they have those big yellow pouches on their legs, right?
Yeah.
Those are what we call pollen baskets, and they're collecting pollen to make bee bread. So if you do see a honeybee on a flower and it's got all of those fluffy things on their legs, is that something, would you want to touch that bee?
No.
What do you want to do when you see a honeybee on a flower?
You would have to avoid stepping on it or you might kill the bee.
Very good, yes. So how about, what would you want to tell your friends today if they were standing around you and you wanted them to make sure bees could live forever? How would you tell them to do that?
Don't kill the bees and let them stay alive.
Awesome. I think that's a wonderful piece of advice. Kennedy, do you want to be a beekeeper someday?
Maybe.
Are you planning on visiting the honeybees again this year?
Yes.
How much do you think the honey tastes better than the honey at the stores?
I think it's more nutrients and less like other things that sometimes you shouldn't be eating, and I think it'll keep you healthier and sweet.
It is sweet too. And then I heard that you're going to get a piece of honeycomb this year with the honey in it, and that's going to be a big thing you're getting from the honeybees this year, yes?
Yes.
And that's edible too. Is that something you would want to tell your friends?
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to tell your friends just 3 things to do, what would you tell them to make the world a better place for honeybees and for people?
Stay calm, don't hurt the bees, and have flowers.
All right. Thank you, Kennedy. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you and your honeybees soon.
Okay.
Go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
Honey Be My Teacher is brought to you by Smokin Js and SmokinJs.com. Everything for your smokin' lifestyle. Just for you, there is a coupon code to save 15% off at SmokinJs.com. It's honey. So enter honey at checkout at SmokinJs.com and receive 15% off your order. And all orders over $100 ship for free at SmokinJs.com. All right, back to the show.
Okay, can you tell me your name?
Liam.
And how old are you, Liam?
5.
5. So today we're going to talk about the honeybees, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Do you like honeybees?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you like honeybees?
Because I like them to drink water. I like them to drink flowers and eat flowers and drink water.
So they drink water?
Yep, and eating flowers.
Okay. So, how can you help the honeybees drink water?
You put rocks.
You put rocks in the water?
Yep, so it can land and they can drink water.
Wow.
Once they're done working, they can under the water
Okay.
and they can swim under.
I don't think they can swim under. That's why you put the rocks in the water.
That's why they got died.
Yeah. So they won't, like, go and drown, right?
Mm-mm.
Yes. Can you touch a honeybee? Yes or no?
No.
No. What happens if the honeybee feels like it's in danger?
They got sting me, they have needles, and guess what happened?
What happens to the honeybee then?
Die!
Yes, and do we want the honeybees to die?
No.
No.
Hey everybody, this is Patti with the host of Honey Be My Teacher and Be My Honey Honeybees, and I am sitting here today at Mills Diner, owned by Kevin and Amanda Mills. Kevin also owns Hive 5 Bees, and he is one of my mentors. So this is someone that we're going to discuss the potential of bees and our kids, to recap over last discussion when we had the podcast regarding kids and how important it is to teach them now while they're young to appreciate the honeybee. Okay, so Kevin.
Yeah, and great to be with you, Patty, and thank you so much. I didn't realize I was a mentor.
Yes,
to
you are.
That's an honor. Thank you. I better start learning what I'm talking about.
So the first question I have right now is, how did you get introduced into beekeeping? Like, how old were you, and what sent you into that direction?
You know, it's a weird thing. I just was naturally interested and drawn to honeybees. Well, actually, bumblebees at first. When I was probably about 6-7 years old, I used to go in the garden and pet them, and I was just really thrilled to kind of try to connect with these furry but yet kind of dangerous little insects.
Right.
And I think the challenge of connecting with something that a lot of people had fear of probably appealed to me as well.
Right.
I wanted to get into beekeeping, and my parents told me not until you're 13. At 13, they would allow me to get my first hive of bees. And so, the way I was introduced into beekeeping when I was about 10 years old is probably not the best way, in the sense that an old, crusty beekeeper who was known for liking to get stung introduced me to bees, and he did not disappoint. He got me stung, but even in spite of that, I was just always drawn to bees, and then honeybees were just kind of the natural outcome of that, because there was something that they were an insect that almost seemed to be intrinsically endowed with the ability and the desire to coexist with man.
Right.
And for man to be actively involved in their management and their lives.
Sure.
So that's sort of how it started.
That's awesome. So how many beehives do you have today, and what else do you do with the honeybees in addition to your honey? How much production do you have there in addition to that? What else do you do with those beehives?
So here's kind of an interesting highlight into the world of agriculture. Last year we were running a little over 700 colonies and had no extracted honey.
Oh boy.
This year we're running a little around over 200, and it's looking a bit better. Last year was a crop failure due to the fact it was just too hot, too dry. Mm-hmm. When it gets hot and it gets dry, the plants are stressed and will not produce nectar,
right,
or will not produce nectar for as long. And so they go into survival mode, in the sense that they're wanting to reproduce as quickly and efficiently as possible, so their flowers won't last as long, nectar won't last as long. They're just wanting to get pollinated so they can go to seed. So this year, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. So far, I mean, this is in June. So far, it's looking good as long as we get some more rain. The average honey crop here, if everything goes right, is usually probably around 40 pounds a hive, give or take in different areas. But so that's what we're hoping to do this year.
Awesome. Now, when the plants are stressed and they're going through weather-related stresses, we call that a dearth in our beekeeping industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, and it can be every year is totally different. And that's one of the neat things about beekeeping. You can look at kind of the glass half empty, half full. If you're going to survive in doing beekeeping, though, and pretty well anything else in your life, you need to look at challenges and disappointments as part of the learning process and the learning curve,
right,
instead of it being something unique about you or your experience or what you're doing. We're constantly learning. This is, for me, it's hard to believe, 20 years now I've gone into, this is the 20th year of doing bees, beekeeping, and I'm still always learning.
Right.
This area was totally different from when I kept bees up in Canada, and so that was a major learning curve as well.
I can only imagine. And I, as a beekeeper here too, of course, as we know, I lost all my hives last year.
Yeah.
I have 5 again this year. So I agree. This is one thing about beekeeping is that resilience is the term I use a lot in our podcast.
Yes.
And I also try to contribute that towards a way for us to learn with our own mental health how
Yep.
resilience is a big deal.
Totally.
And the
totally.
bees are that lesson for sure. Now, are your children involved in beekeeping?
They are. Actually, the 3-year-old, I haven't, our oldest, she's 5. When she was 3, I had her out at the bees, and she did get stung, and I think talked about that for about 2 years. But she actually handled it quite well. And they love it. Like our 3-year-old is definitely interested in wanting to get out and get involved. And you can get bee suits for young kids from different bee supply places. But Brooklyn, our oldest, loves going out to the bees.
That's great.
And really has no fear of them. She's, like I said, she's been stung before. And interestingly enough, too, there's a really fascinating video. A lot of studies have been done about this, too, by Michael Palmer. Michael Palmer did the video on YouTube on the importance of members of families where there is a beekeeper getting stung
Yes.
on a regular basis.
Correct.
To avoid building allergies
Yep.
to the venom. And I can't remember the medical terms, but the big difference of getting exposed to the venom on your skin versus getting stung.
Yeah.
And so really important, if there is a member of your family that keeps bees, you can guarantee your family's going to be thrilled about this idea, but they should get stung, I think once every 6 months is kind of the guideline for that.
Sounds like immunizations.
It really, yeah, exactly. No, totally. Same principle.
For sure,
Same
exactly.
principle.
Yes. Now, I have watched that same YouTube video, and I do agree, and it does have to do with exposure to bees that has something to do with the antigen in your body that causes it to be reactive in an allergic reaction when if you have the venom, you venomize, then your body builds its natural immunity to that, just like a vaccination. So that makes perfect sense.
Totally.
Yes. Now, what can children learn from the honeybees, do you think, and how important is it that they start young?
I think it's incredibly important that, fear, it's a simple question, but my mind goes off on these deep philosophical. But fear is obviously important. It serves a purpose for the survival of our species, but it can also be one of the greatest hindrances to us as well.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to bees, especially honeybees, teaching children how to identify honeybees, even bumblebees, that they're not the same as wasps, hornets, yellow jackets. Their behaviors are totally different. And to empower them in understanding their behavior is going to go so much further than somebody seeing something buzzing towards them and freaking out because they don't know whether it's going to kill them or try to sting them or bite them or whatever else. So, I mean, for me, like I said, I got interested in bumblebees when I was probably 5-6 years old, and I didn't have any natural fear to them. Even when that beekeeper took me out around 10, got me stung up, I had, because I mean, it hurt. I mean, stings always hurt. It took me about a year to get back to actually being confident enough to wanting to go around bees. But that's where, when you're getting into beekeeping, wear the protective, clothing. I mean, for me, I still a lot of times wear a veil just because I don't like getting stung in the face. I don't know really of anybody who does. So it's one of those things of, they are an animal that deserves, or insect that deserves respect. And the sooner anybody can start working around them or even just being familiarized with them a little bit, the better.
And it just seems to me that I know people get a fear of stings, but I've also observed that it seems like any animal or pet or species that you own that you can be overconfident in still has the potential to harm you.
Totally.
Children are bit by their own house dog.
Exactly.
So we definitely do want to, I think this is a good way for people to see it in a picture that, it's equally as safe as your house pet. It's really just your awareness level and respect.
No, totally. Honeybees are pretty predictable as much as any kind of animal can be. And that's when you're doing proper management, it's amazing how safe they can be.
Awesome, that's true. Now, when your daughter participates in the beekeeping with you, what is her role? What does she do, and what activities does she perform with the hives?
She actually, so this last time I had her out, she was helping put pollen patties on the hive for me. I went and what we do, we're putting pollen patties, grease patties. In this particular yard, was I open all of the hives up, and so we had 20 hives there. She knew where the pollen patties were, grease patties. I told her put one of each on the bees, and I went through once while I was opening them up and sprayed them. We used liquid smoke, and that was it. And so she went and sprayed them, put the pollen pad, grease patties. No problems at all. She doesn't even wear gloves. She has a bee suit, but doesn't even wear gloves. Puts them down, and she. A lot of times when she goes out with me, I'll give her the smoker,
Right.
or we more or less don't use the smoker anymore. We use liquid smoke almost all the time, which actually is liquid smoke. And she loves it. But she'll hold frames for me, and she pretty well anything that she's capable of physically, she does.
That's fantastic. And I have learned, you are the one that taught me about liquid smoke, and yes, it's amazing. And I quit using my smoker because my smoker is always my nemesis, and it goes out on me anyway, and I got tired of dealing with it.
Totally, but especially too with the dryness that we deal with in this area in the summertime, it's a lot safer too.
Agreed. Yeah, we've had a lot of wildfires this year. We definitely want to take control of that too. So what can a child do to help the bees, and how old do they have to be to get started?
Well, I think that something as simple as any child going out and with their parents' help, buying a pack of seeds or flowers, sunflowers. Sunflowers are a great late in the season source of nectar and pollen for bees, and they're also very easy to grow. They're very popular. So planting sunflowers could be a great first step.
Awesome.
As far as getting involved in bees, probably find a local beekeeper or a local beekeeping association that you can reach out to and just ask them, hey, I have a young child who's interested in bees. Do you know of anybody who could take them out? And just because the thing is that apart from bees being bees, like with everything, some kids just need to be exposed to it just to see if there really is an interest or not.
Correct, yeah.
And kind of go from there.
Awesome. Now, how should a child react when they actually see a bee or come close to what appears to be a wild hive, or they find themselves in somebody's yard with their hive?
Always a great idea to walk away slowly. If you're not confident on identifying what a bee is, so whether it's a honeybee or bumblebee, wasp, yellow jacket, whatever, the best thing to do is to walk away slowly. There is another trick, which is if a bee is kind of aggressively flying around your face, you can actually lift your hands up above your head, because bees have a tendency to focus on the highest part of what they perceive as danger. And so if you're doing that, if your hands, your arms are kind of above your head or part of, it can distract them enough so that you're not, if they are going to sting you, they're not as likely to sting you in the face. But, hornets and yellow jackets are about the only bees that I know of that would be that type of aggressive for almost seemingly no reason.
Right.
So the most important thing is just walk away slowly. It's hard to do sometimes, especially when you have something buzzing in your face, but that's the big thing. Just stay calm and just take steps away and keep walking.
So now, if you could speak to our kids today about the honeybee and its habitat, what would you tell them to do today that they could do to make tomorrow better for bees and people?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to learn about them and see that they're not as scary as what people oftentimes think they are.
Right.
And to realize that honeybees and bumblebees are different. They're different from yellow jackets, hornets, The second thing is just, like I said, if you're interested in planting a garden, even if you're not interested in planting a garden, asking your parents to buy a pack of sunflower seeds for a buck, which probably has 20 or 30, and those 30 seeds in it, and just planting them throughout your yard is going to help with providing nutrition for pollinators. And we definitely have a issue worldwide, but just in our own country, with a decline in natural pollinators. So, yeah, just learn about bees. Just watch some really good videos, learn how to identify them, and plant some sunflowers. Then you can chew on the seeds at the end of the year.
Kevin, I also have noticed that you've been doing some YouTube videos that are some basic Bee 101 videos, which is great for learners like myself and other beginners. So where can a person find that information on YouTube, and where are you located here in Rochester if somebody wanted to come and speak with you about the bees and to purchase bees?
Yeah, so the YouTube channel, I have to get to 100 subscribers before we can customize it to High Five Bees. So right now it's some weird long address, but if you go into YouTube and put Hive, Hive, space, the number 5, space, bees, BEES, High Five Bees, our channel will come up. And if it's worth it, subscribe and help us get to that 100 so we can make it a little simpler for people to type into their web browser. We own Mills Diner here in Rochester. It's across from Napa Auto Parts. And even though I'm not here that much anymore, my wife is, and all of the staff here are excellent, and they also know how to get a hold of Kevin as he wanders from field to field playing with his bees.
And I also know that Amanda has a bee suit, and she's always an active participant with you as well, so she can answer basic questions should there need.
Totally.
Well, Kevin, I just want to thank you so much for your time. It's real important.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's just been so important. You've helped us a lot with our bees this last year, and what happened last year and what's going on this year. You're such an honest person to deal with regarding the bees, and you've been so helpful that I just wanted to have an opportunity to speak with you, because I knew you could give out good, honest feedback to our listeners too regarding what we can do for the bees and the pollinators and our kids.
Thank you.
For tomorrow.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating thing to be a part of. And thank you for this opportunity, Patti.
Yes,
Really
anytime.
appreciate it.
Anytime. Well, and on that note, guys, we're going to say goodbye, and I want you all to just stay tuned, and we will talk to you more later on when we get a little more on the podcast going with the other interviews. Thanks again from Mills Diner in Rochester, Washington. They're having a lot of fun and friends visiting today to have a great lunch. We'll see you later. I am so grateful to have shared my love of the honeybee with you. I have so much more to share as we all grow in knowledge to save the honeybee, which will ultimately save us. This podcast is brought to you by Smokin Js and SmokinJs.com. Use coupon code HONEY for 15% off your next order, and all orders over $100 ship for free. I'd like to thank my producer, Jay Fratt, for bringing my love for honeybees to the podcast format. He has his own podcast called The Conservative Hippie, which is available on all podcast platforms. Just go to theconservativehippie.com. Visit me at honeybeemyteacher.com to connect with me and enjoy all the buzz about our amazing little friends. Let's be social. All of my social media links are available in the show notes. Please email me anytime at beemyhoney.honeybees@gmail.com. So until we meet again, be mindful, be thankful, and most of all, be kind.